Up and Adam.
Tractor systems are offline.
We are Beyond FM.
Beyond FM.
The future of broadcasting is here.
Up and Adam with Adam Montiel. It's community content from Concentrate. It's Up and Adam with Adam Montiel.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Yes, some say life is just where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
Happy Thursday, and thank you so much for being Up and Adam. My name is Adam Montiel. All right, this guy, he went from packing clubs, booking celebs, and living at the top of the nightlife world to losing everything. His business, his reputation, even his home. And instead of walking away, he decided to take on one of the most powerful companies in live entertainment, Live Nation. Now, as the U.S. Department of Justice and multiple states now take legal action against Live Nation and Ticketmaster, you've seen the headlines all over alleged, I don't think it's alleged anymore. I think they ruled they're a monopoly and these practices are wrong, soaring ticket prices. This guy, Tommy Dorfman, says he has been fighting this battle for over 15 years. From a collapsed festival deal to claims of industry blacklisting, his story isn't just personal. And believe me, it's very personal. It's part of a much bigger conversation about power, access, and who really controls live music in America. And when you hear what this dude's been through, you might start seeing these headlines very differently. I'm excited to talk to Tommy D. He's going to be Up and Adam, just a matter of minutes. First, I want to thank my friends at KSBY for covering the Chefs Helping Chefs dinner. Check it out.
A handful of chefs in San Luis Obispo came together tonight to support one of their own. As part of a fundraiser, several local chefs teamed up to cook a multi-course dinner at Hotel Slow this evening. Local chef Keen McCabe's infant daughter is battling cancer. She's currently getting treatment for neuroblastoma at a children's hospital in Stanford.
Living in a small community and, the people that you really see show up for you and that you've supported yourself, it just comes full circle. It's humbling for sure.
The sold-out event also included a silent auction and live music to raise money for the McCabe family.
What a great job. Thank you so much to KSBY for covering that. And we're going to get the link for that again in the show notes. I just think it's so cool that not only that it happened, that you got all these chefs, and there was this part of when Kian was talking right there, that was the dad whose voice you heard. When he was talking in the background, in the kitchen, you see like Chef Spencer, Chef Brian Collins, Chef Jacob Town. Like, I don't know why I geek out. It's like all these all-star chefs in one kitchen. Chef Ryan Fancher all doing their thing. It's just really neat. I still have chills over that evening just a couple nights ago. And I want to thank again, KSBY, my friends over there for covering that event. All right. Another one I want to thank, our friends at the Mountain Air. You are doing it right if you've been doing it since 1975. We love our friends at the Mountain Air, Josh and Lindsay Herring. They've helped generations of locals get outside. All skill levels, hiking, camping, climbing, heading to the snow, whatever it is. And that is what I love. It is still local. And yeah, you can go to places like REI, but let's be real. You are not going to get that neighborly community feel knowing, one, you're being treated a lot different because they recognize you when you walk in the door. You can't stay anonymous when you're going into a mom and pop shop. And second, that money is staying right here. Where I tell you one thing, REI ain't supporting Up and Adam. You know what I mean? Like, these folks are not only keeping the money that they, invest in their own company locally, they keep the money that they earn and invest in other companies. They buy local. You see what I'm saying? Like, these folks are putting their money where their mouth is. So I would just humbly ask that you and I do the same. Support these folks. They also have a sister shop just down the way called The Switchback, where they do buy and sell used gear. So your stuff gets another run. Maybe somebody else gets their shot. And this is what local love is all about. Real businesses supporting real communities and keeping that connection right here at home. Check out my friends, the Mountain Air on Marsh Street in San Luis Obispo. You can learn more, themountaineer.com.
It's Up and Adam with Adam Montiel.
All right, let's get into this, because if you've been following the headlines around Live Nation and Ticketmaster, the lawsuits, the antitrust talk, the conversation around ticket prices and power in live music, it's wild. Our next guest says he's been living that story for over 15 years. Tommy Dorfman built his way up from throwing house parties as a teenager to being on the tip of the EDM movement to running one of the most successful promotion companies on the East Coast until ... A major festival deal fell apart and set off a battle he is still fighting today against Live Nation. His story is wild. It's complicated. It's got a lot of drama, and it's very much part of a much bigger conversation happening right now. So excited to bring Tommy on. Tommy, thank you so much for hanging out, for your time, for being Up and Adam.
Well, thanks a lot for having me on. Looking forward to it.
You know, I've been sitting with your story, and it doesn't feel like a typical success story, even a comeback story. It feels like a guy who built something from nothing, got closer than most people ever do, and then had to decide, do I walk away? Do I stand in it and fight something way bigger than me? And what fascinates me is you didn't just choose to fight. I mean, you're still in it. You're still fighting. So what I want to understand you, but not just you, but like what happened, but what kept you in it. I'm so interested. And when you hear your own story back, does it feel like you're the hero of it, or you're the guy who refused to walk away when maybe he should have? Because what I'm hearing isn't just ambition. It's like, really, this was your identity. Like, walking away would have meant losing more than a business, but like a piece of yourself.
Yeah, really good question. Live Nation came from nothing. Like you said, built up a career to the top in the entertainment industry. Live Nation wiped it out. So in the beginning, walking away from me, that would have been walking away from what made me. I lived on my own when I was 16 years old. And you know what made me survive? Throwing underage house parties, EDM music, West Coast, let's go.
Right.
That's what made me. Music made me survive. And then I ended up building a club empire in the East Coast off that, running massive events for, over 15 years. So then I got to the top with Live Nation wiping me out. If I would have just caved, I would have yeah, you're right. I didn't even ever thought about it like that. That would have just caved me as a person, because that's not who I am. I'm not a person that gives up. I learned that from my dad at a young age, and I don't quit, so.
Yeah. You're building something massive. You've got this momentum, artists lining up, and then suddenly you're sitting across from people who basically control the entire pipeline: talent, tickets, venues. What did that moment feel like, not as a promoter, but as a human being, realizing, like, is this game rigged or what?
Yeah, well, I dealt with the mafia a lot, and from New Jersey. So I dealt with the mafia a lot. So to me, I was just, when they came in and the threats were blocking your talent, blocking your ticketing, or you're partnering with us, or you're out. To me, I was like, damn, I was able to fend off the mafia and not pay them for 15 years. This is way more powerful than the mafia. They're just wearing expensive suits.
Right.
That's really it. Really no difference. It's just a crime family. But it was a shock. I never thought in the corporate world that the mafia could be stronger than the mafia and control a whole entire industry. Because before I was putting on this massive festival, I was a pioneer of EDM house music, and I never dealt with Live Nation. People asked me, they were never involved in my business. And, I didn't care who they were. They did rock and roll. I didn't do rock and roll. So yeah, that was, it was a shock to me that supposedly a legitimate, but a criminal enterprise company could come in and block your whole entire event festival, and what they've done for people for 16 years and still not be in prison. I'm kind of shocked.
You've got this story. You mentioned the mafia. You've got this story where you start making tons of money for these clubs in Jersey, and they get wind of it, and they're like, "Hey, you got money that really feels like our money," and you're like, "But wait a second, gun pulled on you, gun forced in your mouth." And like something clicks in you where you're like, if you take me out, who's going to make you that money? And you were able to actually express that to them, even real pressure, real danger. Tell me what that was like mid moment. And then when you get away from it, you're back in the car, you're back at the crib or wherever, and you're like, holy shit, like that just went down like that.
Yeah, well, I dealt with the mafia a lot of times, but the story you were saying right there, absolutely. I was literally at the point I realized, look, if you pay these people once, you're gonna pay for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? You're gonna be owned. And I'm not a person to be owned. So I made that split. I didn't just plan this out. Hey, I'm just gonna be a tough guy and just with a gun in my mouth be like, shoot me, and you won't make any money anymore. It just kind of just happened. You know, they paid me that money, and I was like, nah, ain't happening. Gun in my mouth. Cool. If you pull that trigger, I'm walking out the door right now. You lose $100,000 a week. Make your choice. Hey, they acted in a business way. Let me keep doing business, and they didn't take my money. So, you know, but it was, I guess it just came as a natural instinct. There was no plan for that one. Later on, definitely going, all right, sleeping at night. All right, let me lock those doors. Let me grab a golf club. Don't know what's coming, you know?
I mean, I've interviewed people who've worked like undercover from some incredibly undercover, like whether it's detectives, FBI, and the stories and like, you know, the moments where like, you know, this one guy tells me the story. He's checking out of a grocery store. He's undercover with a person he's, you know, watching. And like the person like recognizes him from childhood who's like working the, you know, beep, beep, like the checker. And it's like when you're in a moment like you were, where it's just like, it's this or that. And it's quick. I mean, it's got to be really, really heavy, dude.
Yes, it was a quick moment, and I deal with it multiple times like that.
Yeah.
Being at meeting them at a diners with in a meeting with a gun pointed you under the table, you know. But you know what? They respected. You know, I got my ass kicked by the mafia many times. I got pictures of the scars to prove it. But you know what? They respected that. I didn't pay them. They respected that, and then you know what? They started becoming my customers. Their kids were coming to my clubs. Their families were coming to my clubs. So they respected that fact, and they let me do business. Live Nation didn't.
You go from champagne with celebs, packed clubs, being like the guy, right? To suddenly everything goes quiet. Phones stop ringing, doors close. What did that silence sound like in your life during that time?
Well, I went from the top, like you said, drinking champagne with Snoop Dogg, Paris Hilton, to wiped out of the industry and homeless. It was rough. It definitely hurt. I was super depressed. I ain't gonna lie about that. I was down. I had to make a choice, you know, I'm a fighter. I had to make a choice, and I had to get up and go get a job selling cable door to door to fund this litigation and to survive and get out of homelessness. So it was really tough. It was a lot on me. I ain't gonna lie, but I picked myself up somehow.
Yeah, when everything is stripped away, what part of Tommy didn't break?
I think just my dad brought me up, never give up. You know, that was something he installed to me at a young age. Never give up. When you're right, do the right thing. Do the right thing by people. And I realized, like, look, I lost all this, and all I could have did was kick my business partner out of the deal because Live Nation said to do so, and I would have got my money. I didn't. I realized I did the right thing. I knew I was in the right, and you know what? I know that I had to continue. I had to fight back and not give up. You know, I've never been a quitter. So I knew that I needed to fight back, and I had to battle and challenge this company, well, it's really this mafia, and I had to battle. So I think that was really it. Just the fact of stuff that was installed to me from my dad at a young age. I wouldn't call it myself. I'd say my dad gave it to me.
Yeah, that's pretty rad. You know, maybe that's the real story. It's not what they took. It's like what they couldn't take from Tommy. That's incredible. So you've been in this fight for well over a decade. Most people would have probably settled, like you said, just kicked the partner out, maybe moved on, rebuilt quietly. Tell me where we're at with this fight. Is this still about justice? Has it become maybe about your legacy? Because when you say, you know, like moral obligation, that's not business language anymore. That's in the heart. That's personal.
Yeah, so at first, this was business. I was fucking pissed. I wanted my festival back. I wanted my career back. I have the executives on tape recording, confessing to everything I've alleged. And well, I don't allege, they did it. And more. I thought that with these tape recordings, they would just give me my festival back, give me money to get on my feet and say, we're sorry. Yeah, I was naive there. Then the Electric Daisy Carnival that's put out there in California, West Coast started there, Pasquale Donnie. Live Nation bought that a couple years later. They put the festival on in the exact same parking lot that I was putting mine on with the fair. I was pissed. So, that I was pissed off, and I wanted, at that time, I wanted some revenge. But over time, after I saw all Live Nation's internal documents, and you see how they're just ripping off not just me, not just wiping me out, wiping out all the other independent promoters, ripping off the artists, and ripping off the fans every single day by running a criminal enterprise. Not a business. It's not a business. It's a criminal enterprise. So I guess I didn't have to make a business decision. I had to make a decision. Am I going to go against the criminal enterprise or not? And I didn't back down from the mob, and I'm not backing down from a criminal enterprise. So at that point, I saw these documents, the information my experts confirmed, and why ticket prices are 30 to 40% higher because with Live Nation's illegal rebate financial fraud scheme. You know what? That's when I decided I have to continue this, bring this to a jury, expose it to the public, and for an industry that I love, and an industry that made me. I probably wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the music industry. And that's where I said I felt I had a moral obligation, and that's where it really changed, because I do. And that's what this has become, about the industry, about the fans ripped off every day. My children, my kid wants to run events. I had that opportunity when I was younger in America. You don't got that opportunity. Other people's kids don't have that opportunity. Live Nation runs everything. You can't do anything. Told him I didn't go to college. He's like, well, you didn't go to college, Daddy. I'm like, good. Well, I was able not to. Now you're going to college because you can't go do this scene. You can't make it, and it's just wrong, and it shouldn't be this way. And I'm not going to stop until Michael Rapino and the top executives out there in California are locked up and thrown in jail for the criminal enterprise that they run. That's when I'll stop.
Where do we sit right now? I mean, I see, if you Google Live Nation right now, they just settled in D.C. for like 9.9 mil. The Attorney General has said this, that, the other few weeks ago. Where do we sit right now with Live Nation, and where do you sit with Live Nation?
Well, so to go into the Department of Justice caved on the trial versus Live Nation. The state attorney generals, props to them. And your California state attorney general, props to Cali. Let's go. They continued it with mine in New Jersey. And they beat Live Nation. They got them found liable for being a monopoly. But it needs to go much farther. This isn't a monopoly. This is a mafia. Now, the DOJ settled for $200 million when they caved. That's only 4 days worth. People are like, wow, $200 million. They got them. That's 4 days worth of operating revenue. Now, $10 million, Live Nation is so happy that they got hit with that. People are like, why would they be happy? They're getting great press. Look, we got them. $10 million. We're working class people. $10 million, a lot of money. That's like, think of the math. That's like an hour of their CEO or a half hour of him sleeping or just going to the bathroom.
Right.
So they could care less about it. It's great. They're like, hit us with 10 million, hit us with 200 million. This is awesome. Makes the public look like we got them, but we're just going to keep ripping people off illegally as we're doing, and we'll get away with it. So right now that the case is waiting the judge to make a decision on if he's breaking up Live Nation and Ticketmaster. I hope they split the company into as many pieces as possible because that's what's needed. That's the only remedy that help. My case, I'm still waiting. It's been 16 years. I'm still waiting trial. I can't tell you why. Live Nation's good at being a criminal enterprise, paying expensive lawyers, paying lobbyists, delaying, and threatening people. I should have been at trial. We anticipated having a trial when this first started in 1 year. So I'm just sitting and waiting for a jury date. And I had one 2 years ago. Live Nation wanted their 16th mediation, and I didn't want it. Court forced it. I had a firm trial date. Witnesses were getting subpoenaed, and now we're just a sit and wait.
Is there a next date, at least, for anything, or are we just literally waiting until we get something in the mail that says something?
So sometimes people look at me and they think I'm crazy. Like, why'd you do 16 years with this stuff. I'm up in Massachusetts currently right now, business. Like, I think our founding fathers, when they made the Constitution, your right to a speedy trial, I think they were thinking about me. But under federal law, there is no statute of limitations for when you can get a trial under federal law, and I'm in federal court. Most people don't know that. I didn't know that. I was wondering why the hell this shit takes so long. Isn't this illegal? I think it is. But that's how I think the founding fathers were thinking about me for the right to a speedy trial here.
Wow. And you mentioned it a second ago, you were early money on EDM before it exploded, before it was certainly mainstream. Do you ever sit back and think, wow, I didn't just like miss out. I helped build something that I didn't even get to participate in.
Well, I take a lot of pride in that because I got involved in the business in the 90s. And I started this off from nothing, and I helped build that electronic. I was one of the pioneers and helped build that scene through New York, New Jersey to Miami, and build it to what it is today. And me and my team, just not me and my team worked our ass off to do that. I have awards, #1 sound system in the world. I have all the DJs magazines, which are like Oscars, for what I achieved. I do take pride in that. I know me and my team put a lot of hard work in, and we got that success. And that's where I was going to put on this festival at the Meadowlands, because this is when house music was becoming EDM. When it was right, I predicted it going mainstream. That's why I signed a 10-year exclusive contract at the Meadowlands to be putting on the largest EDM festival on the East Coast. I was just ahead of the game. Live Nation was behind the 8 ball. Their CEO publicly went out, Michael Rapino at this time, and said, I'm fearful because we're in rock and roll. We're behind. This is the next rock and roll. We're behind the 8 ball. We need to acquire or hire the independent promoters in EDM, me, I refuse to take their money, or lock up festival property before lesser known organizations, me, landed it. So that's why I was targeted, because I was a pioneer of it, and I predicted that before it was booming. I'd created it, and I knew the boom was happening, and it was right then. They bought the Electric Daisy Carnival, I think, the next year for $50 million for 50% of the festival.
Wow. Yeah, because EDC's huge. Man.
It's owned by Live Nation. Live Nation owned, and Live Nation Mafia runs it.
You talk about Live Nation like it's a machine. Do you think there's a face behind it, or is it almost scarier because it doesn't seem like there is one?
Yeah, there is one face behind it, very clearly one. Their CEO, Michael Rapino. Every mob family has a boss. He's the boss. And he's created this whole culture of fear, threats. He's created the system where they run a legal rebate scheme and have 2 sets of books. One, it was just recently reported by NBC, Pulitzer Prize journalist Gretchen Morgensen. Information she found, hundreds of events, artists, independent promoter that was working with Live Nation. 1 set of books, they make negative $1.5 million. Live Nation set of books, $15 million profit. So this man runs this whole scheme. They call it a scheme in their own internal court documents now, just so you know. I think your viewers know what a scheme is. I don't have to explain it. They actually call it, they've used the word scheme 50 times in one document, their rebate scheme. So there is a face of it. And that face, Michael Rapino out in California, in his nice Hollywood mansions, he actually had the nerve, if you didn't see it, in the last year, facing the DOJ trial, criminal allegations from me, other trials. He got on live TV and went out and had the balls to say, ticket prices are too low, let's raise them. John Gotti from the Mafia wouldn't do that. Can you imagine him going to any California, because he needs another Hollywood mansion. Can you imagine him going to any stadium out there in Cali and getting at a concert, get on the mic and say, I'm Michael Rapino, let's raise ticket prices? I don't think it's going to work out so good. He's going to get a lot. Those $50 beers he's charging, I think he's going to be getting whacked with them.
Take the lawsuit off the table for a second. What's the biggest risk you've ever taken?
In what way? Okay.
I mean, just in being, street smart, business, life?
Well, I've taken a lot of risks, even getting into business. I took a risk. My parents wanted me to go to college. My mom, my sister, they wanted me to go to college. I took a risk saying, hey, I'm 16, 17 years old. I'm going to create a club empire. And going out there, sometimes not even have heat to be able to make it, the McDonald's McDouble, the $1 value, that was a luxury problem,
Right.
So that was a luxury. That was a great day. And just having faith that I'm going to make it, and just putting all the energy and, working 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's in the entertainment world, there's not just like a career path set up like, hey, you do this and you're going to become this. You just got to make it happen. So to me, that was just that's a huge risk, and everything you do is a risk. But that was definitely a risk at a younger age.
Back in your rise, Tommy, an artist that really made you feel like, man, I've arrived.
Yeah, so I think what was pretty cool for me was Motley Crue out there on the West Coast there, Tommy Lee.
Yeah.
I was big into all different music, Tupac, you name it, Motley Crue. But I loved Motley Crue as a kid. And it was pretty cool. I did Tommy Lee's, when he got into DJing, I did his first DJ event, East Coast. Then I helped run his DJ tour. We became good friends. We started hanging out. He came to my shore house in Belmar, New Jersey. He's coming hanging out at my shore house. I hung out in Cyrus Studios with him. We'd party it up. Pamela Lee would come in. He liked Hennessy and drinking it straight. We're drinking bottles. She's coming in yelling about kids, this, that. But I was like, wow, this is cool. And I never got starstruck though, but he was a cool dude. And he's much more down to earth than you see on TV. So to me, I was like, I don't know if I made it, but I was like, that was cool, at least for something on that side. The other side of it with the celebrities, I never really cared. It was just business.
Your dad's still around?
My dad passed away when I was 12.
Oh, so you learned a lot from him, packed into all in your first 12 years.
Absolutely. He installed who I am today.
That's incredible. What about mom? Is she around?
My mother's around, and she's really helping out. In recent times, she's been supporting so much that I probably wouldn't have been able to continue this without some of her backing right now.
Oh, that's incredible. Well, the story is, it's just incredible. If tomorrow you've got everything you wanted, your day in court, validation, accountability, what does that look like? And do you think it would bring closure or just open a new chapter?
Well, a day in court, and I get all my evidence in. Live Nation's trying to block. I have 500 trial exhibits. Live Nation has 0. I have tons of witnesses. Some are getting old. Hopefully they don't pass away of old age. From the club scene, we party, Well, I'm good, but a lot of them aren't so good. Live Nation has 0 witnesses. They're trying they're good at technicalities. They're trying to knock out 497 exhibits. Don't ask me how. Don't ask me why. They just go into court and try to say, hey, the tooth fairy is real. It's hard to argue that the tooth fairy is not real, So for me, justice would be get in court, get all my evidence in, expose this criminal enterprise and this racket. It's just simple racketeering. And evidence comes to public. I don't see how the government or state attorney generals, which I'm calling for now, pick it up and investigate these people and lock up Michael Rapino, the top associates. Let independent promoters thrive again. What happened? There's no independent promoters anymore. You bow to the ring of the king, Michael Rapino, Live Nation. There's barely any. Independents will thrive again. There'll be artist development. There's no new artist development. Live Nation runs it all. The scene can build again. History can repeat itself. But the only way it can, you got to chop off the head. And that's Michael Rapino's. Rapino for prison. And then you know what? Real change can happen. And you asked before, is it just one person running it? Yes. And when a mob boss runs a family, everybody, those guys that are the hitman, they follow his orders. This is a criminal institution. It's not one bad person. It's run by their CEO. And then the other people that are top executives, that's their hitmans that follow through with these illegal orders. And that's the only way to change it is from the top.
Tommy, listening to you, it's been a fantastic conversation. And even, when you take out like the nightlife business or even Live Nation. It's just this story of someone, what someone does when everything they built gets taken out from under them, and they still decide to stand there, anyway, no matter what people think or question. It's undeniable. And what you didn't do was disappear. Like, you stayed in it. You are in it. I think a lot of people listening, that's what sticks with them. I mean, it's incredible, the fortitude. And I just got to say, it's been a real pleasure to meet you. I definitely want to catch up with you again sometime. I'd love to kind of revisit this, see how you're doing, and keep up with you, man, if that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on, and anytime. Yeah, no, I've had a great time. I've enjoyed it, and you hit a lot of personal points that a lot of people don't say. So I definitely really enjoyed it, and thank you. And anytime I'll be on, and the more it spreads the word about this criminal enterprise and this racket, and that the CEO needs to be locked up. Look, California, we're talking here. State attorney generals, the DOJ caved. You took it to trial. You went forward against all odds, bipartisan. So you know what? People out there, they ask, what can I do? You know what? Reach out to your AGs. Tell them to investigate this. Read the NBC article. These people should be thrown in jail. If this was in anybody else, any other industry, this is illegal. And you can act with your voice. You vote. And if people are going to support Live Nation and not investigate this, vote them out of office. The AGs like yours that continue that case in the trial, props to him. Vote him in. Vote him the governor. This is bipartisan. You may not even, we don't agree with anything in this country. Well, we agree, Live Nation and Ticketmaster, well, they just proved they're a monopoly, but most people agree that they're a criminal enterprise when they hear the information that I'm talking about.
Yeah, unreal. Wow. Love the chat, man. Thank you so much, Tommy D, for being Up and Adam.
Thanks for having me, man. Have a great one.
Some say life's where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
Isn't that something? What someone does when everything they built gets taken out from under them and they still don't walk away. For people who want to follow Tommy's story, keep up with the case, dig into everything that he's putting out, we got all the links in the show notes. Tommy Dorfman, again, thank you so much, man, for being Up and Adam. I definitely want to keep up with his story, his journey. Man, journey, that's an understatement, right? I want to tell you about my friends at the Olive and Lavender Festival. This is happening on March 9th. It's completely free. Downtown City Park. And this is not your typical festival. First of all, it smells a lot better. It's just awesome. It's like everything, it's got this chill. You got lavender and olive oil. Like, you just got, chill in the air. That like legit calm you down energy. Local farmers, little pop-ups, demos. Somehow you end up staying a lot longer than you planned. Completely free. It's on the square, downtown Paso, 9 to 4 on Saturday, May 9th. Make sure you are a part of it. The Olive and Lavender Festival. Check it out. Links in the show notes. And I thank them for being Up and Adam. All right. Tomorrow's Friday. Can you believe it? The week is here. This was a quick week. Definitely feel like this week went by like that. I want to thank our friends Moonshiner Collective for original music on the show called Start Again. We're getting geared up and more, dialed in to this new SlowCal Studios. So we'll be bringing that in full effect next week. We've been telling you about it all week, but I just can't wait to really dive in and, broadcast the show from there. So as we move out of our Tamber Lowbro Studios, I must say infinite love and infinite thanks to Josh and Chiasa Clapper. Tamber Winery will always be a place in my heart. They were before I had the Tamber Lowbro Studios, and they will certainly be after. You can taste their wine in the village of Arroyo Grande. Spell it Timbre. Yes, it's pronounced Tamber. I promise. Yes, tamberwinery.com. Love those guys, and I thank them for the Tamber Lowbro Studios. Yeah. All right, Friday we'll talk to, I think tomorrow we're actually talking to not Robin, but actually Sarah Tomasetti with Wine for Pause, because this is Wine for Pause weekend. Get ready. Super excited about it. So until then, let's skate to the weekend. Enjoy this beautiful weather. Thank you so much for connecting, rating, reviewing, subscribing to the show wherever you listen to it. It means an absolute ton. I'm Adam Montiel. Till tomorrow, thank you again for being Up and Adam.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again. Let's start again. We'll start again. Let's start